rahmatullah, in his youth, specifically in his youth. Why? Because it's harder. It's harder. The hormones are raging. It's just harder, and you're more prone to making mistakes and being erratic. Khair. Brother Mikā'īl, let's bring you on. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing, brother?
Alhamdulillah. What's going on, bro? I like your energy. What's going on, Akhi?
Alhamdulillah, man. I'm just enjoying it. I saw that I got a chance to come on your stream for once, so I'm excited.
Welcome.
You know, I watch your videos a lot, man. And as I said, you know, I converted back January 26, 2023. So it's only been about a month.
Yeah. That's you, mashallah, mashallah. Yes, Akhi, mabruk, mashallah.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I can see that energy running through your, flowing through your veins right now, that new Muslim energy. How does it feel like?
Brother, I'm sure you can understand, and you know, it's a type of feeling that cannot be described in words. It can't be expressed in words. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's his love, right? You know what I mean? It's his love. It's his warmth that I feel inside on a daily basis.
Amazing, Akhi. What's your story? How did you come to the religion?
So I'll try and make this as quick as possible, make a short story longer, so to say, right? And, you know, going back to like when I was, of course, I'm Italiano. I was raised Catholic, born in America. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. And, you know, being that I was raised Catholic, I was put into Sunday school, right, to make your first communion, this, that, and the third. And right around the time I was like between 7 years old to 10 years old, Sunday school, I was asking questions, right? I'd read stuff in the Bible that I'm questioning. And I asked the priest or the teacher, and they're like, no. You don't ask these questions. And my response always was, so you want me to have faith blindly? I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. It's saying one thing here, but it's the exact opposite. And then from, you know, the Old Testament to the New Testament to the King James Bible to the NIV, the RSV, there's so much stuff that's been added, removed, fraudulence, forgeries from Paul, right? So it's like by the time I was 11, I'd say I pretty much walked away from the Catholic religion. Wow. And I always had this belief of, you know, one creator, almighty, all merciful, most gracious, right? Come to find out once I researched about Islam, that's what, you know, Islam is. It's one, right? And Allah is one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And, you know, as I dive into this more, I'm like, okay, so about 4 years ago from today, I'm 30 right now. 4 years ago, I got into, you know, I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking weed, right? I stopped all that stuff. And of course, in America, like that's a big part of the culture, right? In today's world, in the Western world. So I stopped doing all that. Just something came upon me. I was like, you know what? I don't want this in my life anymore. I doubled down on going to the gym and exercising, and my relationship with, you know, God at the time, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, got so much stronger throughout this time, right? So then right about, and when I say God, this was not the God of the Catholic religion that I was brought up. This was just what I understood Allah to be at this time, right?
Got you.
So right about like 2 years ago, I'm like, all right, as my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets stronger and stronger and stronger, I'm like, I need to know, right? I need to find this out. I already know Christianity, as far as I'm concerned, that's out the window, right? And there's so many other things that came to it why Christianity to me is, right? Like there's one of the biggest cardinal sins in most religions, but especially Christianity, is sodomy, right? And I see this thing on social media, like, I don't know, and even on the news, it was like 5-6 years ago, about a priest or a Christian minister who was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is this guy the symbol of your religion, yet he's the exact opposite of what your scripture tells you what to do? So I'm like, yeah, that's gone. So then I checked out all the isms. I'm like, yeah, not for me. You know, all the polytheism, Buddhism to me was more like a consciousness.
So you went on a journey, basically. You went on
a journey.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then when I found Islam, and I do a lot of research. I read the Quran, and a lot of stuff is ticking in my head. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't read the Quran front to back. I had skimmed, right? I had found little pieces and passages, and I'm like, okay, this is all of the values and principles that I base my life upon to this day. So I've basically been Muslim without being Muslim, right?
I got you. I got you. I got you.
So then it's like January 25th, which is January 26th was Thursday, and it was Thursday night when I recited my Shahada with the Imam, the Sheikh, and it was he explains to me that that's basically Friday morning over in like
Yeah.
Saudi, I believe. So he says this is the holiest day. It's the
Well,
best day to recite it.
Islam, the day precedes the night.
Mm.
Yeah. Let me just get this right. The night precedes. I can't. I'm getting my language mixed up. But anyway, the day will begin on the night. The day will begin on the night. Are you with me? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. All right. So getting back into this, right? So on the 25th, I'm looking at like this week. I'm looking at mosques in the area because I'm like, all right, I need to go to a mosque. I need to talk to the imam, to the sheikh. I need to find out more, right? Because I'm like pretty much ready to make this which I found out as Muslims we call revert, right? Because we were all born Muslim. It's our parents who pushed us in their way. So I find a mosque, and on the website there's a phone number. So I'm like, all right, perfect, right? Well, let me call. So I call, and the brother who answers the phone, right? What felt like a 5-minute conversation, we talked for an hour and 55 minutes. No, like, wallahi, brother, I swear, like, it was crazy to me, the energy that I felt through the phone, the energy that this brother was giving off, so welcoming, like, and what made me make that phone call that night, bro, I can't even tell you, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
Exactly.
It was not me.
Exactly.
So he says to me, I want to go there now, and it's Wednesday night at like 8:30, and he's like, well, we all just left, but tomorrow at 7 o'clock Isha time, right? He's like, yeah, we have prayer. He's like, if you can come a few minutes beforehand, right, you can talk to me, you can talk to the imam, and we'll answer some of your questions. So I show up, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna show up early, like I want to show him I'm serious. So I show up at 6:20, right? The brother is already waiting outside. It's freezing, right? He's waiting outside with a smile on his face, like already knows who I am when I show up because he hasn't seen me before. Of course, I'm right, like the way I'm dressed and everything. He's like, all right, Brother Mikā'īl, right? At that time, my name was Michael. Okay, I had changed my name to Mikā'īl.
Okay, that's
so
convenient. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, because I was named after, my mother named me after Saint Michael the Archangel from the Bible, which in the Quran is Mikā'īl, right?
Yep.
So I go in, first off, the energy he's giving off, how welcoming it was for me, that just made it so much better. And then when I get in there, it is this brother, right? The sheikh and myself, and we just sit down. And the energy from the sheikh as well, how welcoming, it cannot be explained, the energy that I felt, right? And then, so I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. So every brother that came in after that, same thing, extremely welcoming with open arms. Now, if you, right, if this were to flip-flop and you were to walk into a Catholic church and you were to try and talk to some Catholics like this, brother, they would look at you like you had 6 heads. Because you're like this. There's so much judgment in the Catholic Church. So to me, like, and I never felt welcome. Even when I was Catholic, I never felt welcome in a church, right?
Interesting.
In the masjid, when I go, even before I became Muslim, and now, brother, the feeling, like I'm sure you know, the warmth that you feel when you're in the masjid, it is amazing, right?
I'll be honest with you, Mikā'īl, because I've been Muslim all my life, I don't know any different, and it's hard to appreciate without that comparison. I've said this before on my channel. You don't know what's cheap until you know what's expensive. You don't know what's low quality until you know what's high quality. You don't know what's high quality until you know what's low quality. So this is why I am interested in these stories, because I don't really have this experience, and it's a privileged experience. You have the juxtaposition. You're able to compare the difference. Do you see what I'm saying?
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Yes, brother. Yeah, it's a blessing. It really is. You know. And like almost like the way that you're saying this is like the grass isn't always greener on the other side type of thing, right? So you know, it comes to this time, and the sheikh tells me, okay, it's 7 o'clock, it's about time for prayer, and he's like, you can go sit over here, right? And after that, you know, after we finish praying and you observe, we can talk for a half hour, whatever, and you ask me any questions you want, and I'll do my best to answer. I'm like, all right, cool, right? And then I say, but am I allowed to pray with you? And he looks at me, and he smiles, and he says, do you know what this means? And I just kind of looked at him and smiled, right? Like I didn't even say anything. I just looked at him and smiled. And he says, well, this would mean that you are ready to become Muslim. And brother, like before, I can't even say, like, it was like I was looking at myself from a third perspective, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke through me and was just like, yes, this is why I'm here, right? I'm ready. So he you know, mashallah, gives me a hug, and he's like, okay. So we go to the bathroom, and you know, we recite before the bathroom, and you know, recite it in Arabic and then in English, right? And then he shows me, you know, how to wudu, which he explains it to me. He's like, it's ablution, which is like it's like baptism in the Catholic religion, like somewhat, right? Except this is something we do before every salah, and you understand. So, you know, he's explaining, he tells me what to do. I go through it. Now, right when I get to like the second to last step, when I put the water over my head and then come back forward, first off, I need to explain to you that the way that my father raised me, right, and I grew up in the city, a man is a man, and a man is not supposed to show emotion, right? Especially not supposed to cry. So it brings me back to when I was a very little kid, and I was at the playground with my father and little brother, and this little kid fell down in front of us, right, and starts crying hysterically. My dad grabs me by the shirt, and he says, you see this right here? He said, you see this little pea? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he calls him that, right? He's like, this little fairy, whatever, we'll say that. He's like, you won't be like that. I'm not raising you to be soft like this. You're a man. We don't show emotion. We don't cry. So that was like my first kind of experience to this. Going back to when I do this, right? Water over my head, and I come back forward. Now, when I come back forward, I cannot express the joy, and my eyes literally water. Like I didn't start crying hysterically, but my eyes watered up. My eyes teared up, right? And in that moment, like it just, brother, I can't say it enough. Like I cannot express it in words, right? The feeling that I felt. And then he says to me, and this part was funny. We still, like, the sheikh and I laugh about it. He says to me, okay, now your feet. Now take off your socks and your feet. And I looked at him. I'm like, what you mean my feet? And he's like, yeah. Take off your socks. I'll hold your socks and you wash your feet. Now I look at him. I'm like, you telling me this sink is up to my chest and you want me to pick my foot up and wash in the sink? It's like, yes. He's like, yes, brother. That's what you have to do. So then I'm like, okay, and you want to hold my socks that I just worked in all day long? He's like, yeah, brother, that's fine. So I give him my socks. You know, I'm washing my feet as I'm almost finishing up my second, like my last foot, right? My right foot, or I forget which one I did first or last, but the last one I had to wash. I nearly.
The right would have been first, and the left would have been
second. My left foot last. So as I finish washing the left foot, I nearly fall backwards. Right? I almost fell. And he's dying laughing. He's like, "Don't worry, you'll get used to this. This is all just. This is beautiful right now." So coming back out and coming into the room where we're all about to pray, and it was like a line of brothers just coming to hug me and welcome me. It was amazing, man. And since that day, it's been, You know, the only way that I can describe it from my past religion would be when I wake up every single morning to pray Fajr at the masjid, right? I look forward to that like the first time I woke up as a kid on Christmas morning and seeing those presents under the tree. That's the only thing I can relate it to. And that's every day when I wake up for
Deep,
Fajr.
deep. Wow.
MashaAllah, brother. It's
Deep.
beautiful.
That's
You
deep.
know?
I want to put a pin on it right there, bro, because that I'm gonna clip
Absolutely.
that. I'm gonna clip that. That's beautiful. Mikā'īl, welcome to the religion, my brother. A pleasure having you on.
Jazakallah
Habib.
khairan, brother. I hope to talk more.
Inshallah ta'ala, Habibi, you're welcome. Take care,
Inshallah.
Mikā'īl. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. There you go. To those of you who maybe you're a Christian or you're agnostic or you're atheist or I don't know what, and you're considering becoming Muslim, Christmas every day. And that's, he couldn't find something better to explain, but it's like that. Christmas every day, the feeling.